There were some kids that were not fans of Crosby, Stills, and Nash. That was our audience. We were the disenfranchised kids. We were the kids that didn't fit in, the kids that got bullied. And the Alice character was pretty much a victim. He was sort of that public victim figure. So kids related with him. We didn't realize how many kids were disenfranchised. You know, that was our army, was all the freaks, you know. We realized after a while that there was no villain of rock and roll. There were a lot of Peter Pans and no Captain Hook. And I certainly did not mind being the Moriarty of rock and roll. You know, I had the face for it, I had the look for it, and at the same time, we all kind of were, we were not hippies, we were not peace and love. We didn't mind a little violence on stage. And that, once you got past that, and people got past the controversy and the shock and all the thing, they realized there was a sense of humor behind it. Detroit was an entirely different world of rock and roll. When we were in LA, we realized that we just did not fit in. We were not the Doors. We were not the Buffalo Springfield. We were not any of these bands that kind of fit in there. When we got to Detroit, we played the Saugatuck Festival with Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, the MC5, Iggy and the Stooges. When we went on stage, we were that finger that was fitting in the glove that was missing. And then when they found out I was from Detroit, it was, and every single week we would do like the Grandy, you know, it was the greatest rock dungeons in the world. It would be those bands, plus The Who, or Savoy Brown, or Arthur Brown, or somebody like that. And that was the best rock scene I'd ever been in, was Detroit. It was hard rock. If you were Seals and Croft, you'd get killed. The only band I didn't want to go on after was Iggy and the Stooges, because they'd wear the audience out. This is when Iggy was like, 20 years old. He was just outrageous, but he looked great and he sounded great. And then you had to get the audience back after that. So they were the toughest ones to go on after. I think they found a niche there. I think they found the White Panthers thing, and it was fun. Fun to be the White Panthers. We're Detroit, we're the White Panthers, we're this and that. And I never quite understand why. I said, well, then what do you do? What is the agenda? I don't get the agenda. It was a really cool thing to do in Detroit. Getting him out of jail and the whole thing like this, and I got it. It was fun to be, but politics to me is so opposite of rock and roll. When my parents would start talking about politics, I'd go in my bedroom and put on The Who as loud as I could. Because to me, I could care less about taxes. I could care less about who's invading who. And I said, I don't want to hear music. I don't care about that. So to this day, I'm still like that. I don't look at Bono and Sting and all the people that are as politics. I look at it as humanitarian. To me, that's not politics. Politics is about power. So to me, I could care less about that. Humanitarianism, sure, I'll help out all day with that. But I don't think that's political. It would have had its life. I just don't know where that life would have gone. I always kind of felt that I knew how to aim it. I knew how to aim the press at it. And I was a journalism major. So I realized that more people would rather read the Inquirer than the New York Times. If I see something that says tax laws cut or boy born with dog's head, I know where I'm going. I said, that's us. We're the Inquirer. We're not the New York Times. There was a gray area when I didn't know where Alice began and I ended. I had to get sober before I realized that I think what killed Jim Morrison and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin was the fact that their character, they never knew how to leave the character on stage. I had to separate myself from Alice. And we always talk about Alice in the third person. We always go, well, what would he wear? What would he say? Or somebody will send me a song and I'll go, Alice would never sing that. Or Bob Ezrin and I will sit there and go, no, Alice wouldn't look like that. He would look like this. So he is a character I play.